Opening night 2019 for the Detroit Red Wings. The goalie is the same guy it's been in 8 of the last 9 years. Jimmy Howard has shepherded this team through the post-dynasty years, being the model of consistency. Howard has been a solid starting goalie since entering the league. Never a superstar, but never a liability.
Saved by Howard! Look at that.
He even has a couple of opening night shutouts to his name. Howard has a very nice game here against Nashville, leading Detroit to a victory. The Wings aren't supposed to be very good, but a Game 1 win is always good for morale. Jimmy Howard and the Detroit Red Wings are 1-0. Jimmy has a night off for the Wings next game, but picks back up against the Anaheim Ducks. His 2 shutout periods have allowed his team to build a 1-0 lead, and he has honestly looked terrific.
Deflected right there. Who's there to make that play? Justin Abdelkader, right there with the Yzer.
The Ducks score some dirty goals and add another on a snipe from Jacob Silfverberg, and Jimmy gets his first loss of the season. Oh well, like I said, this is expected to be a transitional season for the Wings. It probably isn't likely for Howard to have a great record. Howard loses his next start against the Leafs, giving up one particularly bad goal while doing a Dominic Hasek impression.
Toronto will race for it here. Out comes Howard on the kayak, open net, he scores!
Aside from that, he isn't awful in the loss, but not a game that's going in the highlight reel.
Some wins together. Final seconds tick down as Filppula dumps the puck in on goal.
Okay, so listen. Jimmy's game against the Flames looks a lot worse than it was. Yes, he gave up 5 goals on 36 shots. That isn't good. But they were on a bad turnover.
Beat him cleanly. Giordano's shot got through, scores!
Blown coverage.
Good shot. In front, they score!
A bad puck retrieval.
Lucic follows him into the corner, pumps him off the puck, they score!
A bad turnover combined with an own goal.
Gets it back. Lucic shoots. Howard save. Rebound. Ryan stopped by Howard. Puck pinballs around. They score. Second chance on net. And Hronek.
And finally, a good shot on the power play when the game was already out of reach.
Back to Giordano. Shoots again. Scores.
Another middling game against the Canucks, and it's another loss. Not all Howard's fault, but you'd hope he'd have gotten one of them, especially when the Red Wings started with a 2-0 lead.
It bounces in off Horvat. His hat-trick goal.
The next game is another loss. Howard is pretty good, but I have to point out the number of these goals that are basically just passed in because the Detroit defense is off doing something else other than hockey.
Looks across, Olsen back in front, they score! Beautifully set up, Reinhardt, side of the goal.
These 5 straight losses for Jimmy ties the longest regulation losing streak of his career. It will be at home against Edmonton where he'll have a chance to not set a new personal worst. And he's great. Jimmy Howard is tremendous against a very strong Edmonton offense, only allowing a single goal to McDavid, Draisaitl and company, and leading his Red Wings to their first victory in 8 games. His 5 straight losses are in the rear view, and here, on the 29th of October, there is plenty of season left. I'm going to tell you some bad news. This was the last win of Jimmy Howard's career. You're probably thinking, oh, so he gets injured in his next game and is out for the year, and then he retires. No. Howard gets the start in the Wings' next game against the Hurricanes and just gets pulverized. He gives up 5 goals on 21 shots before Jeff Blashill mercifully ends his night. It could have been even worse, but one of Carolina's goals was called back after a coach's challenge. Jonathan Bernier plays the next game and isn't very good either, so Jimmy is back in net for the next start against the Predators. Hey, he really had their number in Game 1. Should expect more of the same. It is somehow worse than the Canes game as Howard gives up multiple outside shots and is pulled yet again. Next start, loss to the Rangers featuring a Greg McKegg shorthanded goal.
Moving in shorthanded. McKegg shot flexed away and high by Howard. Picked up by McKegg.
Next start, hey, only 19 shots against, and the Wings scored 3 times. And here comes Kevin Labanc, and the Wings have lost in a shootout. Alright, here we are, heading into the third with a 3-2 Wings lead over a pretty mediocre Columbus squad, and there it goes.
Scores! Almost from the goal line. Blue Jenner, 4-3 Blue Jackets.
With another 5-game losing streak to snap, Jimmy Howard faces the same Hurricanes team that started it.
Back pass, the shot, and the save by Howard. Boys come up big early.
Howard is terrific. The only goal he allows is on a Joe Louis Arena-like bounce off the Little Caesars Arena boards.
Barajo. Off the backboards, out front, they score!
He stops each of the other 34 shots that come his way. Unfortunately, the Red Wings didn't score at all, and despite his best efforts, it will be yet another loss for Jimmy. Howard will look back at this game through rose-tinted lenses after his next start. 10 minutes, 14 shots, 3 Leafs goals, and 1 knee injury later, Jimmy's night is over. He'll remain the goalie of record as the Leafs beat the Wings 6-0. The injury is substantial. Howard will be out for a chunk of time. But Jimmy didn't hear a bell.
I didn't hear no bell.
He's back after a month on the shelf for a December 22nd holiday showdown with the Coyotes. And folks, he's picking up right where he left off. And by that I mean he's getting shot on a lot, giving up goals from long range, losing a not particularly close game. But hey, in this game, he even cut out the middleman, scoring one of the 5 Coyotes goals himself. He allowed 5 goals in the next game against the Panthers, and I can't keep pretending Jimmy is to blame for his situation. This defense is horrible. The defensemen for this game are 22-year-old Philip Roenick, his partner Patrick Nemeth, and 4 guys, Madison Bowie, Mike Green, Trevor Daley, and Alex Biega, who are playing their last full NHL seasons. Patrick Nemeth is at his best as a 7th defenseman on a good team. It would not be an insane statement to make that he is the best defenseman on this Red Wings team. The bottom 6, quote-unquote, defensive forwards are a real skeleton crew. There's 35-year-old Val Filppula, 35-year-old Franz Nielsen, and worst of all is poor Justin Abdelkader, who at only 32 years old just can't do it anymore. At least Darren Helm can still skate, but even he is well past his prime as a two-way force. But here they are. Jimmy has a job to do, and every few nights he will go out there and try to make it work. The Red Wings have made a New Year's resolution. Try to blow fewer leads, and here in this game against the Blackhawks, they have a chance to put their money where their mouth is up too. After Madison Bowie screens Howard, the lead begins to shrink. Then, Howard gives up a massive rebound right to Dylan Sakura and just admits defeat. In the third, Roenick, Daley, and Dominic Kubalik hang out together in front of the net. Wonder what they're talking about.
Here's a chance, score! And a foot twist!
Well, there goes the resolution. Howard's next game is against the Sabres, who are in a bit of a tailspin, having lost 9 of their last 12 games. The Red Wings lose again. Howard gives up 5 goals again, including one to Bobby Orr? That's Zach Bogosian.
Bogosian right to the net. Scores! My, oh my, Zach Bogosian!
Jimmy gets the start in the next game, too, because of an injury to Bernier, and there he goes. 3 goals on 7 shots. To be fair, Cal Pickard isn't much better either when he comes in, as the Wings lose 8-2. Okay, let's try this again. Jimmy gets the start in the next game, this time against the Penguins, and gives the Wings 2 shutout periods, and his team has a 1-0 lead going into the third. Helm takes a penalty. Russ scores. Overtime. Glendening takes a penalty. Crosby scores. Put another one in the loss column, but at least it's the better loss column. The very next day, here comes Howard yet again for his 4th start in a row. It's a loss, but it does mark back-to-back games with a save percentage above 900 for the first time since October. The next game against Colorado, 5th start in a row, and yes, we are back to 5 goals allowed territory. Was a single one Jimmy's fault? No, not really. 6th start in a row. I mean, Cal Pickard isn't good, but can we give Jimmy a break, please? The Wings take the lead in the first. As an aside, I am shocked how often this team scores first. I'm less shocked as they give the lead away, but hey, they have another lead, and it's gone too.
Once again, he shoots, saved by Howard, rebound, he scores!
You can tell at a couple of points during this game that Jimmy just isn't feeling at his best. His confidence is shot. He'll say in interviews after the season that he's trying to tweak too many things, trying to do too much instead of banking on his play to rebound. He looks lost here against Minnesota. Against the Rangers, Jimmy is out for his 7th start in a row, but at least this one is following a week-long break. The high-skill, high-speed Rangers don't give Howard much of a chance on the 4 goals. He's been getting slaughtered by screens all season, and nothing changes here.
Flips it with the wrist. Here it comes again, and then just flips it.
Howard gets a few starts off with the return of Bernier, but takes the net again in Columbus. Turning back the clock and stopping 42 of 43 shots against the Jackets, Jimmy Howard is rewarded with a loss as the Red Wings fall 2-0.
Quick shot, score! Zach Werenski!
9 days this time between starts for Jimmy, who is now fully serving as Bernier's backup. And look, the Wings have the lead. Bernier unfortunately doesn't get the night off as Howard is chased after 4 Penguins goals midway through the second period. 11 days between starts. Jimmy is matched up against a good but not great pre-Kaprizov Minnesota team. He's pulled again. He gives up 5 for what is the 8th time this season. For comparison, he only has 5 games where he gave up 2 or fewer. The next day, the NHL, in line with other professional sports leagues, suspended their season due to the COVID-19 pandemic. When play resumed, the last place Red Wings were not invited. In the offseason, Jimmy Howard was informed that he would not be receiving a contract offer from the Red Wings. Howard felt he could still play at the NHL level. Maybe he was right. Maybe with the right supporting cast, he could have carved out a few years as a backup. Unfortunately, we'll never know. Howard never received a contract to play in the shortened 2021 season. In January of 2021, Jimmy called it a career. With all said and done, Jimmy Howard had lost the last 20 games of his career. I've looked into if this has happened before, but I don't think it's happened to end a season, let alone a career. Jeff Hackett with the 93 Sharks finished his season with a record of 2-30-1. Losing his last 17 starts, but a tie against Vancouver breaks it up. Jerry Desjardins of the 73 Islanders went 5-35-3, but his worst stretch of the season was merely 13 losses. He even ended the season with a tie. Michel Belhumer of the horrific 1975 expansion Capitals, who finished his season with an incomprehensible 0-24-3 record, had, again, his stretch broken up by ties. Since the tie is gone, Jimmy wasn't afforded this luxury. He played his entire career in games that always ended with a winner and a loser. For his last 20 games, Jimmy was in net for the loser. Jimmy Howard was an Olympian. As the Red Wings fought viciously to keep their legendary playoff streak alive, Jimmy Howard was the guy in net. He occasionally surrendered the net to Peter Mrazek, but when Mrazek was gone, Howard was still there. Jimmy Howard was Chris Osgood without the help. Had Howard come around 10 years earlier, he would have gotten to ride out the tail end of his career with back-to-back trips to the Cup final like Osgood. Howard deserved more. He deserved better than to grind through 20 straight losses with the worst team of the Cap era. But, like so many other players, the end was a bitter pill to swallow. Few had a longer, more aching exit than Jimmy Howard.
The final play before the icing, and Clifford goes in. Howard's had enough. Richard challenges Howard afterwards. Right here, Glendening comes in, and then they all convene. And then, when we went to commercial, look at what happened through center ice. Quick and Howard, who are both going to be on Team USA at center ice. And they're not exchanging Christmas gifts either. Look at this. Oh, boy. And there are two linesmen. Look at Quincy laughing his butt off over there saying, what are you doing over there? 2 goaltenders, 2 linesmen, a referee O'Halloran saying, all right, boys. Children will be children.